Here's a title for you. This is an interesting one. What have you done to Solange? From 1971, the Giallo collection. English packaging and design by Shriek Show under license 2002. So this is one of the earlier DVD releases. And you're wondering, what is this? Well, there is this university professor, academy professor, who is having an affair with one of his students, and he's also married to his wife. And lo and behold, they're both frolicking on a boat. They witness a murder being performed, and they're like, okay, we can somewhat see what's going on, but at the same time, we don't know exactly everything that's going on. So what follows is a tale of wonder, police procedural, and just lots of interesting, just a big storyline that just gets revealed later, and I'm thinking, holy smokes, when I first saw this. Yeah. What makes this interesting is that this is an academy. One of the students is 18 years old, and there's also a 16-year-old, which I'll get into in a little bit. And it's this movie is a bit of a police procedural, and it's 106 minutes long. So you're ready for some dialogue and good performances, yes, especially with the guy with the beard, who is he's dang good, because at first he's like he's like being the playboy, he's going around cheating, and then he realizes that there's some really big stuff going on, so he goes around teaming up with the police and everything else, and ultimately what it leads to is some rather disturbing stuff, including that there was at this academy, that these girls were brought in, and they have their own, I guess you could call it like a sex club, pretty much, and it's just like, you're just thinking about, just so you know, all the actresses were like in their 20s, so you don't have to feel that disturbed, but at the same time, it's just a sense of who done it and what is really happening. Solange, as it turns out, was one of the girls who got impregnated during one of the orgies, I guess you could call it, and it was so dang traumatizing for her that she became mute, and her mind reverted back to that, like what do they call it? Infantile regression, I think the word is, pretty much, to when her mind just can't even talk or anything like that. And what happens is that the father is getting revenge on everyone. Portraying a bearded priest trying to figure out which woman it was that which girls caused this to happen, and eventually just goes about ending them in interesting ways. It's like the kills here are part of what has to be done with giallo. You gotta show some blood, obviously. You see a person in like the forest on a riverbank getting it, and then you got the most intense one where there's one of the actresses in the bathtub, and she drowns and is just done, and like they think they even slit her throat, which is just like gross, but at the same time, dang. And there's a third one who pretty much just gets eliminated off screen, but it's still done in a disturbing way. And so I'm just thinking to this, like, what the heck is really going on here? It's just absolutely insane, obviously, like I said, it's a police procedural, so we get a lot of talking. You get the guy going around. He even goes up to, I guess you could call it like a beatnik or whatever, where he learns about the name of Solange, and we eventually get to see her with I guess a maid or whatever it was taking care of her, and the plot goes from there as it descends. Is like the first half of the film is it deals with just the setup in our kind of cheating playboy, who's he gets dragged into everything, and when you look at it, you just feel like some stuff is just about to happen. Obviously the camera here is which adds more to detention and procedurals. Very specifically, what I know is that when we are dealing with we get a first-person shot of the biller, you know, as he's going to commit some billing. So we get a rather amazing first-person views of him walking around, and like as he's walking up to where one of the girls is in the bathtub, goes and pretty much just performs the deed that I mentioned earlier. And we even get, and I think the camera at once manages to capture everything going on, but at the same time keep it distant, as like they don't know what's going on, we don't know what's going on either. And it's just dang clever work going on here. Of course, eventually, in one of the more prominent scenes, there's the when the professor is going around, Ennio or Enrino or whatever, notices that this one person named Ruth has been eliminated along with a dog, and it's just like, what the heck am I seeing? But of course, perhaps the most famous scene is go ahead, an abortion clinic, pretty much. But this is like a back alley abortion, so it's no anesthesia and cream and stuff like that. It's just four of the girls hold down Solange's arms and legs, and as the baby comes out, it was particularly, not just, I guess you could say disturbing, but interesting with the camera views and everything. Ooh, man, I'm just looking at it like, geez, oh Pete's. And of course, there's even where there's for all the bodies, there's also instruments that were inserted into the vaginas. Yes, a knife and a sickle, if I'm not mistaken. That was like, as if to say, this is like the male dominance going on of like saying that, you know, it's like we do get the male gaze. What happens when it becomes really effed up and all the sex happens to them? It's just like that the women are the ones who can't show any sexual freedom. They have to act prim and proper, especially with like this is what happens if you fool around too much. You go to a backdoor abortion clinic, so obviously you're going to have to mess with you have to fall in line. So it's really double standards, as whereas the male can do whatever they want, but the female, Italy in the 1970s, has to act has to have the continence in a certain way, if you will. So, and like what could happen, especially when it's at like I think it was like a religious academy or whatever, and some of the stuff that goes behind the scenes, and it's just like, whew, holy smokes. Definitely. One more thing I remember was when there was one girl named Brenda was talking to Solange. It was going on like a merry-go-round, and we get a couple of different views as if to highlight the tension and confusion that she is showing. That's what I perceived from it, but it's just like, dang. And I mean, even one more, when the teacher's talking to this one photographer, lo and behold, there's a model right there saying I'm only here for an hour. Of course, she's got like the stuff conveniently censoring the genitals, and ultimately it just lets all the social standards and double standards going on. Yeah, so of course this is definitely a very interesting, uncomfortable movie. This is not for everyone, and I have explained why. Of course, there's, you know, with all the sexual stuff going on and how the adults respond to everything going on, it's just absolutely interesting, I guess, to see. Yeah, in the beginning there was like this Miles Davis style jazz going on, but then it would eventually transferred over to like then contemporary-ish keyboards and stuff like that, which leads to just this overall interesting film. So yeah, With all that said, if you want to see something, if you want to see, in my opinion, one of the better giallos of the time, then I recommend that you watch What Have You Done to Solange, English dub, no subtitles.